Hey crafters, it is Tuesday, which means it's time for Tutorial Tuesday. Whoop whoop! So today we're going to cover a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And you know, okay, I'm being a little facetious there, but actually this one is important to me because first of all, it has to do with crochet. This is my first time doing a crochet tutorial on Tutorial Tuesday, so whoop whoop, I love all things crochet. And hopefully this might inspire you if you don't already crochet. You might be encouraged to go look at some of my other videos and learn to crochet, which is really awesome. You'll enjoy it if you do. And then the second reason is because when I started crocheting, I didn't know the correct way to do this myself, so I kind of just made stuff up, but because I was making it up and just kind of going, I don't know, let's try this, I was never quite sure if I was actually doing it right, and also some of my works turned out really weird looking. So I'm going to go ahead and save you the hassle so you don't have to go, oh, why is my project looking so weird, or why can't I make my project do what I want it to do? So you might be wondering, what in the world is she talking about? What are we doing today? So today's tutorial is going to be on how to increase crochet stitches. And let me also pause for a moment to explain what increasing crochet stitches means, because if you've never crocheted before, you're probably like, what in the world is she talking about? And even if you have been crocheting for a little bit, you might not be familiar with the term. So basically, the idea is doing more stitches. And so when you increase the stitch, you can make your project get wider, you can cause it to curve, you can give it ripples, so it allows you to create different shapes and textures. And what I think you're going to really like about this tutorial today is the tutorial part is somewhat intuitive, but what's cool is I show you how to actually apply it. So there's different ways and different results you can get with this same method. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can actually apply the tutorial. So I think you're going to enjoy it. So get a ball of yarn and a crochet hook and let's get to it. So here we are. I've got a row of double crochet. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I want to increase the number of stitches in my next row. So the basic idea for increasing stitches, you may have already figured this out, but the idea is you're going to work multiple stitches in the same spot. But there's two main different ways that you can increase stitches. One is where you increase the stitches only on the sides, and so what this will do is it'll still create a flat fabric, but it'll get wider. The other method is if we work the increases in the middle here somewhere, this will cause it to kind of have a bowed effect. Because if you think of this, like these are the number, this is my hand, and these are stitches. But then I do extra stitches so it's longer. We'll say it comes to here on my arm. Obviously, to fit this amount of material in this amount of material, it's going to have to kind of bend, right? So that's the same idea with my amazing arm illustrations. So let's go ahead and talk about how you make the project wider. So just like normal, I'm going to do my turning chain of 3 because I'm doing this in double crochet. Now, if I were trying to work an even number of rows, I would let this turning chain count as my first double crochet, and then I would work 1 double crochet in each spot across. However, while I am still going to let this count as my first double crochet, I'm also going to work a second double crochet right in this first spot here. Normally we skip that and let the chain count as the stitch there, but the idea here is we're going to do another double crochet right in there. And the idea is it's like we've got 2 double crochet in the same spot, that the turning chain and this double crochet we just did count as 2 double crochet in the same spot. And that would be considered an increase. In patterns, it's a lot of the times abbreviated INC, short for increase. So then we've got 1, 2 stitches. Going to keep working across.
So 3rd double crochet, 4th double crochet, 5th double crochet, 6 double crochet, and number 7 double crochet.
So now let's think about this for just a moment. Our first row, we counted the turning chain from that first row as a stitch, and so the first row had 7 double crochet. However, we went ahead and we worked an extra double crochet in here. We did an increase here. So we're already at 7, but we haven't even worked in this spot here yet, which is still counting as a stitch. And so you can see that by doing that on this side, we've already added an extra stitch. So I could go ahead and do stitch number 8 right here. And if I were to go up to the next row, what this would create is a straight edge on this side, while this side would keep getting wider. However, I want both of my sides to get wider. So instead of just working double crochet number 8 in here and stopping, I'm going to do an increase in this spot, which means I'm going to do 2 double crochet. So I've already done 1 double crochet there, and then double crochet number 2. So if you look at what we've got here, you can see it's starting to kind of bow out on the sides. It's kind of getting a little bit wider. And if we repeat this process up several more rows, where in the first and last stitches we form an increase, it'll continue to get wider, but the inside will still be flat. So if you want to work a triangle, say, but you want it to be flat, you can just keep increasing at the sides without getting a really bumpy, misshapen triangle. So because we did 2 increases in this row, that means we're going to have 2 extra stitches in this row than from the previous row. So every increase adds 1 additional stitch. So since we did 2 increases, we added 2 stitches. So this bottom row here has 7 double crochet stitches, but this row we just did the increases on now has 9 because we added 2 more. And so you can apply the same idea on your next few rows. So here I am, I've gone ahead and done a second row, and I did an increase in the first and last stitches just like I did on row number 2. So in row 1 we have 7 stitches, row 2 because we did 2 increases we have 9, in row 3 because we did 2 more increases we now have 2 more than 9, which is 11. So you can see that it's not completely even, and depending on where you go in your turning chain will help create a more even look. If I had gone further on the side of my turning chain instead of going right here, I could have created a more even look, but you can also see that with a little bit of stretching, or if you want to block your material, which is where you wet it and then let it dry in a certain shape, then you can get the nice widening shape. So maybe you've noticed that some of your projects have gotten wider without you meaning them to, and that's because you've done extra stitches in a spot where you didn't mean to. So the same idea would apply to single crochet. If you just work an extra stitch in each spot on the edges, that'll make your single crochet project get wider also. What's nice about increasing stitches is it's the same concept across any stitch. So you just do the stitch and you just work multiple in the same spot. Now what if we've got this work right here and we want to kind of create it to kind of bump out in the back? So we would do some increases in the middle. So I'm going to chain 3. Turn my work, and I'm going to start working evenly across. So instead of doing an increase here, I'm just going to work across evenly. Now to create this kind of bump in the middle, I'm going to do multiple increases here, but I'm not going to do them all right next to each other. So I've got 3 double crochet here, and I'm going to do an increase in this 4th spot. So to do the increase, I do 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochet in that same spot. So you can kind of see how it's already kind of leaning over where we're going to work our next stitch, and this will kind of help create that bowed out effect. So then I'm going to do a double crochet just like normal. Then in this next spot I'm going to do another increase, which means I work 2 double crochet in the same spot. I'm going to do 1 double crochet just like normal in the next spot. And then in this spot, once again, I'm going to do another increase. So work 2 double crochet in the same spot. And then I'm going to finish my row by doing 3 double crochet, meaning 1 in each of my last 3 spots. Sorry, I should be careful with how I word this. So I'm not doing any more increases on this row. Just finishing it off. So now if we look at this here, our edges are straight, but you can kind of see that the material is kind of bending and bubbling like that. And that's because if you look right here, you can see we did an increase there. We did an increase right here. You can see they both worked in the same spot, and an increase there. And so those 3 increases cause the fabric to kind of bend out. So this would be good if you're trying to shape something around, say, maybe a doll, and you need to go ahead and curve it out for the dress. You could do increases like this, where the edges would still be straight, but it kind of gives it this, this curved look.
Gonna undo this row, and I'll show you the 3rd idea.
This one's really cool because what you're going to do for this is you're going to do an increase in every single spot. So we've got our turning chain, and I worked another double crochet in that same first spot, and I'm going to do an increase in every stitch along here, and I'll show you the kind of effect that this creates. It's going to create this nice ripple effect. So just work your increases in every stitch across. So here we are, I've done an increase in every single stitch. Now, unlike the previous row where I showed you where we just did increases in the middle, you can do a bunch of increases in every single stitch and get a curved effect, but also notice the edges aren't straight. So if you kind of were to think of the edges as being straight, it's going to create this nice ripple pattern in your work. So this is good for doing borders on things. If you have, like, say, a blanket with a straight border, if you do 2 double crochet in each stitch across, you can have a nice wavy textured border. And so it's just kind of fun. So hopefully you get the idea how doing your increases in different spots can create different effects. So at the sides, it makes it wider. If you do it spaced throughout the middle, it'll create a curve. If you do an increase in every single stitch, it can either create like a giant curve, or it can create these cool ripples. Because you also notice it's kind of stretching these stitches down here wider. And the reason why increases cause the fabric to do different things is because in the same distance this way, you have, this row only had 9 stitches, but this row up here has 18. So if you try to fit 18 stitches in the same amount of space you fit 9 stitches, obviously those 18 are going to have to kind of cram around and get a little squished up. And so that's what's going to create those nice curves and that texture. So now you know how to do an increase. So there you go, that's all there is to it. And hopefully this helps you expand your crochet abilities, and maybe it even inspires you to pick up a new craft. And as always, please comment and tell me what you thought about this video. If you want to see more Crochet Tutorial Tuesdays, give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any other ideas for Tutorial Tuesdays, tell me below. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you like seeing, and I will try to get that up here. And, you know, while you're at it, if you're commenting and you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. That'd be great. Show some love. And until next time, happy crafting. What should I do for my end clip? I'm trying to do something, like, funny, but I'm not feeling inspired.
I don't know. Use, like, the really big crochet hook and some, like, really skinny yarn, small yarn to do some weird stitch or something.
It's so funny. Guys, this is so funny.